Hello, Chad here from Kinetics with another at-home or travel workout. As always, keep in mind, we give you ranges in terms of reps, sets, duration of work. Okay? That's to allow you to adjust this a little bit based on how much time you have available, as well as kind of where you're at on your fitness journey. So let's get started. We'll go through our prep, sweat, and breathe portion today. We'll look at each movement and describe it, offer you some variations and options that you can put in there, and then you'll be on your way. As always, if you have access to equipment, maybe some dumbbells, kettlebells, bands, whatnot at home or that you travel with, you can certainly load some of these movements up, but they are intended to be able to be done primarily with no equipment and just your body weight. So the first movement that we have for our prep is a multi-direction bear crawl. So with our multi-direction bear crawl, we're in a quadruped position on our hands and feet, and I'm traveling forward, backward, laterally. Okay, I can go in some figure eights or circles, travel diagonally, stepping in opposition. So when I move my right hand, I also move my left foot, and vice versa. You have 1 minute of that multi-direction bear crawl, staying nice and smooth and controlled with that. It's not a race. After that, we're going to go into 30 seconds per side of a side-lying hip cars. So cars is just a controlled articulation of the joint, right? So just think you're moving a joint through range of motion with as much motor control, as much muscular control as possible for you. So for this, I'm going to lay on my side, make sure that I kind of brace through my belly here and I keep myself in this position. I don't want to rotate my torso around to try and create more range of motion at my hip. What I have is what I have. I like to bring both hands together and kind of brace, maybe clasp them together. And from here, I'm just going to lift one foot. I'm going to bring that knee up. I'm going to rotate it out, down, bring it back in, back, behind me, swing it back through, and go through these kind of variety of different movement patterns, moving my hip around the whole time. So I'm getting about 30 seconds per side there, just putting that joint through a full range of motion, whatever you have access to. Make sure that it's under control and that it's smooth. We're not using any sort of momentum or anything to kind of give ourselves a false sense of more movement. After that, we're gonna move on to our scorpion knee to elbow. We have 6 to 8 reps per side. So what this is, we're starting in a down dog position. I'm gonna lift one foot, reach across the other leg, and then I'm going to bring that back to the opposite knee in this plank position. Again, reaching across, down to that plank, bringing my knee, in this case it was my left knee, to my right arm. Okay, so all the way into that scorpion position, and then sweeping that knee down and under the torso, bringing it to your opposite elbow. 6 to 8 reps per side with that. After that, 6 to 8 reps of a shin box get up. So I want to get myself in a position where I have one shin out in front of me and one along the side of me. And from here, I'm gonna brace through my belly, squeeze and drive up through the floor with my knees, extending my hip, step around, stand, back down in that kind of reverse lunge, sweep this foot back, and slowly and controlled lowering to the ground. 6 to 8 reps per side with that. We're gonna cycle through those 4 movements 3 or 4 times, and that will complete our prep section. Once we're done with that, we move on to our sweat. We have 5 to 7 reps, or sets rather. The first movement being 10 to 15 reps per side of a split squat. So for my split squat, it's basically a stationary lunge. So I want to get myself set. I want want to think about stacking my shoulders over my hips and that drops straight down to the ground. So as I lower, my knee touches, and I'm going to drive right back up to this top position. Okay? You can certainly load this movement up with some dumbbells at your side, a single dumbbell or kettlebell in that goblet position, or even offset on one side or the other. Okay? Make sure that if you are going to offset the weight, let's say I'm going to do it in a farmer position here with this dumbbell, and I'm going to offset it in my right hand when my left foot is forward. I want to make sure as I finish the reps on this side, okay, when I go to switch, that I switch hands, right? So the loading remains balanced as well, okay, when I go through this. But you can certainly add some additional external load to this movement. Again, farmer carry style, front rack or goblet position, even overhead, and even some mixed grip stuff, right? Where you can have one element in the front rack, one down the farmer, overhead, front rack. A lot of different variety of options here. After that, scap push-ups on your elbows. So what you'll need is to get into a plank position, and hopefully you can kind of tell what I have going on here. The movement's relatively small, and it should be isolated to your upper back, right, your shoulder blades. So from here, I'm going to drop my shoulder blades or my chest down, bring my shoulder blades together, and then extend up. Drop and extend up. Making sure that I'm not moving my hips, I'm not kind of slouching my back to create that movement. It's all right in this upper back, okay? Shoulder blades come together as the chest drops, pressing through, and they open at the top as you reverse back out of that bottom position. You have 10 to 15 of those scap push-ups on your elbows. After that, we have 10 to 15 reps of a kneeling hip thrust. So this will look similar to our heel sitting position, but instead of sitting back and just staying there, we're actually going to sit back and then squeeze the butt, drive the hips right back up. So a kneeling hip thrust. This is something that it's kind of hard to band if you're at home unless you have access to like a squat rack or something that's anchored, then you can certainly band it. But you can absolutely grab a dumbbell, a set of dumbbells, kettlebells, sandbag, and you can load this movement here, okay, adding a little bit of weight to it. You can even back rack it if you have something like a barbell or a sandbag that works to put on your back, okay? And we're just going through 10 to 15 reps of those kneeling hip thrusts. After that, we have 1 minute of squat thrusts. So as a refresher, for our squat thrust, we're going to drop into a tall plank, return to a standing position. Hard hip extension, squeeze your butt when you come up. If you want to turn that into a little jump at the end, you certainly can. I personally prefer that standing to a aggressive hip extension out of that squat thrust. I feel like it helps me to be held accountable to drop down and maintain rigidity in that tall plank, right? It kind of they feed one another, those two positions. So 1 minute there of our squat thrusts, making sure we're not letting that back or those hips sag when we drop into that tall plank, right? We drop into a rigid plank where we have a nice straight line from the shoulders down to the heels. As we finish that up, 5 to 7 sets there, we'll go into our breathe section. 5 minutes spent in a heel sitting position. So when we do our heel sit, similar to that hip thrust, right? We should already be kind of comfortable with where it is at this point. We're going to sit back. Top of my foot is down on the floor, and I'm just sitting my butt onto my heels. And from here, I'm going to close my eyes and start to work on some deep diaphragmatic breathing into my belly, focusing on trying to elongate all 4 sections of our breath. So stretch out that inhalation, hold for a few moments, stretch out that exhalation, hold for a few moments. Eyes closed, take these 5 minutes, don't skip this part. If you can extend it to 10 or 15 and kind of weave in some mindfulness or meditation, by all means, please do that. We certainly encourage you to do so. Enjoy the workout, everyone, and we'll see you next time.